Whenever you're ready, Tom.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, September 14th of 2021. This meeting has been properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I apologize. I don't have my printed statement. I'll be right back.
Okay. One moment first. What's that? Standing here for example.
I'm sorry, you'd think I'd have it memorized by now, but I don't. As you may know, in late May, Governor Murphy issued Executive Order 242 related to COVID-19 and which eased restrictions on face coverings in indoor public spaces and under certain conditions. The order permits employers to impose stricter requirements regarding face coverings in indoor settings, which in the best interests of our employees and visitors, the city of Northfield opted to do in May and continues to do today. Based on CDC guidelines, the city of Northfield continues to require face coverings and social distancing in our indoor public spaces, and visitors are made aware of this decision with signs at the entrances to the building. Due to the continued social distancing requirements, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. This meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting, and this evening there were none. Roll call, Mr. Deweese.
Here.
Mrs. Madden.
Here.
Mr. Notaro.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Utz.
Here.
Mr. Palestina.
Here.
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
Mr. President.
Thank you. I guess we'll start off with the committee reports. As always, Councilman Perry.
Thank you, President. They did have people on the dedication Saturday to the memorial, which is very nice. I thank everybody involved. always turn out a great job. One of the comments that was made to me though is that my microphone in Zoom and YouTube does not operate properly. So they had to be aware of that. I was aware of that because I talked into it pretty regularly, but it wasn't all of it to them. So I don't know what needs to be done as far as the logistics of this microphone getting on the record, but not doing what they're telling me. The other issue, the other report I have is that we had a very long meeting with the UAW and had the results last week, and that contract is the other issue that I have out to senior committee, Kevin McCord, and she said that the library at this point in time still is not accepting, not geared up to accept our organization at this point in time. We're on board with that.
Thank you. Councilman Lutz?
Thank you, Council President. I want to also concur with Frank that the service for the 9/11 dedication was and did a great job. It was really a wonderful event, and nothing before the planning board this month, which is the first time since I've been on the planning board that's happened. And other than that, our housing and zoning people got badges, but I have nothing to report.
No, still need to fill that one position, correct?
Two,
Two,
zoning and code.
zoning and code, okay. Councilman Otero.
Thank you, Mr. President. From Fan, we had our first home game opener. It was really nice. It was amazing how many people were out there. This new fan board, it does a phenomenal job. There's so many new things. They had, smoke machines, the kids running down the hallway that they just put in Cardinal Way. It's really nice. I'd like to thank the Public Works Department, Greg, for helping out there and getting the place ready for the season. All the sponsors we had probably, I think, about 45 to 50 sponsors donating to the fan league. It's just amazing the support, especially after coming from this nasty pandemic that we had, and it's just really nice to see the businesses step up and do that. We also have a game change from October 23rd to the 24th. I'll be reaching out to the police and EMS and informing them of that change, so they're aware of that. From economic development, I spoke to a business owner, Mitchell Gerwitz. I think we all know the Gerwitz properties in town. I'm going to be meeting with him and a real estate agent that represents the national chains, and just come up with an outline of what these national chains are looking for in a town and demographic and so forth, and see if maybe our ordinances conform, or just kind of work it out to see if we can make it more advantageous for them to come in and more businesses of that nature come in. If you have the national chains, a lot of other businesses really prosper from that. So Paul, if you want to join in on that, I know you're the zoning department, so that's something maybe you'd want to sit in with. From EMS, let's see here. EMS is they moved into the building recently. I think they have pretty much everything in the building except the fridge so far. So they're going to be here between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. working out of, and then the van will be here 24/7. So In town, we had, between Linwood and Northfield, we had 47 calls for service with a response, an average response time of 6 minutes. We provided mutual aid to other towns 118 times with an average response time of 7.5 minutes. And we called in for mutual aid 12 times with 7 transports. Well, fire will, I'll wait for the new business, I guess, for fire, so. Or old business. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. That's good to hear. The response times are pretty good with the, they're doing well there.
The average, yeah, I mean, there's
There are always
always, there's
outliers.
always some, that, but
Councilman Deweese.
Thank you. Well, the thing I have tonight is that you all noticed there's a slight leak in the hallway related to the air conditioner, so temporarily the inconvenience until we get that repaired. So I'll look into that tomorrow and find out what the status of that repair is, but it shouldn't be major.
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilman Smith, Councilwoman Madden.
I don't have anything yet for mainland, and meeting is the 20th, I believe, next Monday. Insurance and safety,
Excuse me,
nothing.
Mrs. Madden, could you please speak into your microphone?
Isn't it on?
Mr. Deweese just said he can't hear you.
Okay, I'll try this one. Better? Can you hear me now? I have 2 microphones. I hope somebody can hear me. Okay, I'll shout. The library had held their meeting last Thursday. And the statistics are the attendance was 493 people, circulation 1,408 items, 63 ebooks, 58 audiobooks, fees and fines collected 189.15. In-person programs 18, total attendance 298, still well below pre-COVID levels, but we're working to get them higher. Masks are going to be still in use in the library and also even in the small meeting room for people. And they're just working on getting up to speed slowly but surely. They did do a draft of their strategic plan. There's a draft that's on the table, so they're working on that also for 2021. That's it.
Is that a strategic plan, long-term or short-term? What are they?
It's both, I think, and they have a mission statement. They call it the dream. Our vision is the dream, the mission statement, our promise, and our values, shared values, our commitment. And then they go into that different philosophies and how they would like the library to operate for the community.
Thank you. Barbara, is the library going to be closed for a certain period of time with the installation of the rugs?
I do believe that it will be closed for a day or so, not a whole, I think they're going to do it in, it'll be done like in 3 days, so.
Oh, okay.
And it's, they will be, the installers will be moving stacks. They're working on getting a mover to help move the books. They just like taking the books that they'll be packing up the books in boxes and then hire a mover to come in. And the books are just going to go from here to here and then back again.
It's only a couple days. right?
Yeah, because they'll move the books out and they'll do one they've got it divided into 3 sections. They'll do one section and then move the books somewhere else and do the other section. And, it's just a matter of shuffling things around. And then they'll do I think they're going to start with the small room in the back, the
Okay.
community room,
Thank you.
and then work their way up.
Thank you. Councilman Smith. Good evening. Good evening. Give the committee report.
Not much report. I do want to apologize first for my tardiness tonight. I had a cross-country meet at Absegami, so I got here as soon as I could following the end of the meet. And also for last meeting, it was my wife's birthday that night, so I made a solid choice in taking care of my wife, I think. So I do apologize, however, for that. But I have, the only thing I wanted to mention is that for Northfield Community School, obviously, they are back in school, and this is the first meeting since the beginning of school. So obviously, we want people to be careful with school in session now. And I also wanted to, I think, commend the superintendent, Mr. Bertonis. He had a number of meetings prior to the opening of school. They were Zoom meetings and in-person meetings, but he really made an effort to, and the board made an effort to reach out to the parents, let them know what was going on. And they also made some adjustments to their original plan, listening to the parents and making some modifications to what they were doing in the school. So I really want to commend Mr. Bertonis and the board for listening to the concerns of parents and actually taking the time and making some modifications based on that. So that's all I have then, Mr. President.
Thank you. I too was absent, obviously from last meeting. I got married and we went away for a few days. I apologize for my absence. Got to do what you got to do, right, Bill? Right. From finance and collections, we did have our audit completed and there were no outstanding issues. Obviously, there was, well, again, we were in compliance with everything. We fairly, the financial statements of the city fairly represent our financial position. That's the typical phrase. So that means we didn't have any issues, no concerns with our audit. There were no, nothing was out of compliance. Also from collections, the bills went out, so tax bills are being collected as we go. And I would also like to thank everyone involved with the Patriot Day event. That was great outside. Hopefully we can continue to do that in the future. It was a nice event, and the placement of the artifact is a great location, and it really stands out there. Maybe clean up the bushes a little bit and we'll have it really nice. But certainly Shannon Campbell and Mary Canisi involved in getting that organized. Lauren Crooks for originally the prior chief for getting that artifact for us. And of course, Rami, thank you for that design. Looks wonderful. And hopefully I didn't leave anyone else out. And that's all I have from my committee reports. We'll move on to,
Mr. President,
yes,
can I backtrack? I apologize.
Yes,
There was something I
yes,
neglected to
certainly.
mention I wanted to mention, so I apologize for that. I did want to mention, we had some meetings, we had an issue, or we have an opening for zoning and with the retirement of Mr. Tatalo. And I just wanted to let council know that we have had some Zoom meetings. Ms. Canisi and I have attended some meetings with Pleasantville and reached out to Pleasantville. And we are in discussions with them about filling one or two of those roles. And we've had some fruitful discussions, and we had, I believe, 3 meetings, Mary, correct, Zoom meetings. And we're waiting a proposal for them to come back with us and hopefully get someone to fill at least one of those positions in a shared service agreement. So I did want to comment on that as part of the shared service.
thank you.
We're awaiting word still. We're still waiting for them to come back to us, but we are in discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ongoing business. I believe do we have an update on the Zion pump station easement?
Yes, the contract has been signed by both parties. The bulk sales application that's required by the state of New Jersey has been sent up to the state as of today. Title work has been ordered, and this week I'll work with Rami to put the application together and get it submitted to the planning board for subdivision approval.
Is there anything on the Northfield Avenue drainage? We have nothing to update on that Jackson Avenue Bay. Sump ups, any move, have we done anything with that, with an ordinance there, or are we?
Yes, we discussed it the last meeting, so, I did research other municipalities, we did talk it over extensively at the last meeting. I did research our own ordinances prior to bringing something forward. And looks like in chapter 289, ordinance last year, ordinance 7/2020 last year, one of the state requirements that we put in place is going to make it a little bit more difficult when the interpretation from the attorney. It prohibits the improper disposal of waste into the stormwater system. But the ordinance prohibits spilling, dumping, disposable materials, stormwater in the municipal system. But it goes on to say that one of the exemptions for the prohibition is the uncontaminated groundwater, infiltration, crawl space, or basement, sump pumps, foundations, building drains, rising water. It seems like that is part of one of the exceptions that we passed last year. So I guess basically before we go forward, we have to see if this prohibition in this ordinance refers to sump pumps that they are legally disposed.
Okay.
I'll give this to the attorney to the later date.
Thank you. Oh, so if that's the case, then
We would have to adjust that first, or if that's.
Or determine if that's-
State wants it, then I don't know, we might not be able to go to Trump law.
yeah. Yes,
There, that's a state requirement there. Some of they can don't use the drain system. Our issue is how to get it over there.
so yeah, the puddling is the problem.
Right. States that are allowed to have some pumps in it.
So we'll move forward with that and see what happens.
Thank you. Have the, see, the local road program for 2020. We have that list finalized. I think there were a couple of additions.
I think we finalized that last meeting.
Oh, it was on the meeting, okay. So we can take that, get rid of that off from the agenda. Is there any update with the county for the stormwater shared facility?
I haven't received all the information from the county engineer that starts in the bits and pieces, so I have tried to view the system that we are sharing. I'm waiting for the rest of the information from.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Notaro, did you have any update on the
Yes, I do.
ladder truck?
Yeah, the committee has met on several occasions. They've been looking at two different makes of vehicles, Pierce and E1. There's been, they bring these vehicles down and these guys go through these vehicles and see what they like, see what they dislike, it's their business. They know, I couldn't tell you the first thing about a fire truck, but they know what they're going for, and they look into all that stuff, what they need. So right now we're looking at different axle sizes and what the need is going to be for Northfield. So the chief should have an updated bid spec by November, and we'll review that and then maybe get it finalized. I'll be meeting with them tomorrow as well, the chief and the captain, and I'll get a better update by then too. That's where we're at.
Thank you. In new business, have there been any other grant opportunities that came about recently? No. Do we have any update on the auction? I don't have anything on that, on the auction for public property.
That's going to be a future closed session discussion.
Okay. And facilities use applications for all fields. That's something we started with this year. Dan has already done that, so we'll be hopefully getting the rest of those in from the other sports teams to put in applications and change the way we were doing things in the past. They'll still have the ability to have the fields available to them. And they'll do the same process as anybody wishing to use our sports fields. That's all I have on that. See, at this time, I guess we should open to the public. This meeting is now open to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject, please state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
Camp, 701 Burton Avenue, Northfield, New Jersey. I have a few questions. Where do we stand with the sale of marijuana in Northfield? We were told that Northfield wanted 3 dispensaries and 5 new sheets. So I'm kind of curious, is Northfield going to put cart before the horse? Or are we going to set up ordinance first?
Oh, we have an ordinance on tonight's agenda.
Right, but I mean, are you going to enforce these ordinances? I mean, no smoking in the bike path, is there a fine for it? No smoking on Birch Grove, is there a fine? Is it going to be enforced?
Those are not in the, those are a couple of things that are not in the ordinance at this time. So that would have to be added if that's.
Right, but you know how the state-
We already did it.
It was discussed, yeah.
There are fines?
Yeah, it was discussed.
That's what I'm saying, all these ordinances, I'm just gonna say, you know, are they gonna be put in place prior to selling? And if Northfield's.
Well, they'd have to be in place prior, yes.
Right, because then you can't change them for 5 years. You can change
Well,
them.
as it stands right now, everything's prohibited. The item on the agenda tonight would, if it passes, would permit the certain sales.
Okay, what about, so if we're gonna smoke, so if you have a boutique, are they allowed to smoke near that boutique? Is there
No.
going to be a footage in front of the storefront?
Those are all part of the state rules
It's in the
that,
rules. No,
yes,
you
those are all
can't.
part of the rules that,
Well, I may.
yeah, those are all
This is a small
prohibited.
town, and I just think that,
Can you smoke at a boutique? I don't
No.
know.
No,
No,
but they.
I have no.
You have to have an ordinance, they can't smoke in the parking lot, or they can't do this or that. So my concern is anybody on city council going to make a profit off it? Are they involved in, say, a license or a boutique, or they should never be allowed, they should not be able to make a profit in something that's gonna come to the town?
yeah, the state law doesn't allow for it.
Doesn't allow, okay. All right, just want to make sure that here we are in Northfield, a small town, so it's a family town. I don't care what anybody does in their own home. I just don't think the rest of this little, small town.
Yeah, the smoking inside inside the shops, those are all prohibited in the state.
So where, if you're.
In those
talking
rules
about-
that are prescribed right now, they're going to reevaluate those rules in a year or two.
Right, but they're like, they were saying dispensaries, where could you put a dispensary?
It's,
It's medical. We don't have that.
that's a medical, you mean?
No,
No,
because New Jersey's gonna allow the sale.
It's just retail.
it's
Just
retail. The
retail.
retail sales is done.
And what
Yeah.
are we gonna do for home grow? Because that hasn't been established.
that's not
yet.
allowed.
That's not
It's not
permitted
in the
yet.
rules.
Okay, so that's, I'm just, you know, like I said. And would they consider, if we do the sale of marijuana, are you going to hire more police officers?
Well, we don't know that, but there's always that possibility. We don't know what we're going to need. Depends on what it brings.
What it brings? So once again, you're gonna put the cart before the horse. Instead of being proactive, you're gonna be reactive. And this is a situation, because I've seen it through the country be sold and how it happens. So I have been there on opening day. I've been there for the sale in different states. And it is not pretty. It's not what everybody thinks it is. You're not making the money you think you're gonna make. And it does bring in, not riffraff, but it does bring in people who, you know, want to smoke. And I just think you've got to put it all out there before, you know, this is a small family town. We need to really, you know, make it a strict rule. You can smoke it anywhere you want to, but in your own house.
Thank you.
Council President, can I just address one of the comments from Mrs. Camp? During our budget hearing, I had proposed to hire a police officer, and that was brought about with my discussion with Chief Newman as to the concerns about this marijuana once it becomes legalized, the enforcement aspect. The problem that we all have here on city council, in not that we don't want to have more policemen, but is that it's an unknown factor, as council president pointed out. We don't know what the situation is going to be. I feel confident that city council, if there is a need, will be proactive and will make the necessary adjustments or a review of police staff in here in Northfield once it becomes more of a prolific situation here.
You know, you got to limit how many boutiques come into a small town.
As of right now, there's no limits in our ordinance. So it would be, as of right now, there's no limit in that ordinance that we have drafted. So if we wanted to, we would have to change that. That would be something, yeah. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Allen, 2509 Herbert Drive. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two questions tonight. Is there a preschool on Route 9 between Shepherd and Ridgewood? And is it a private preschool or is it from the school itself?
There is going to be a private preschool on the other side of Ridgewood Avenue, so not the Shepherd side, but the other side where the Liberty Travel is. They're gonna that building. Have 154 students. They already run a place in Galloway and they run a place under the zoning requirements and they're approved. But yeah, so we'll be a preschool where the travel is now.
And who is funding that?
It's private.
It's private.
Yeah, yeah. They have a good track record in Galloway and it's a learning academy. It's, you know, not for babysitters, so. And,
But then what's at the facility on the other side?
The old Alfred.
Yes, the old Alfred.
yeah, I haven't, they certainly haven't come for zoning or planning, but my
Because there are
understanding is
people
that's
in there.
related somehow with Northfield Community School or with our, you know, with our pre-K program. I don't know anything about that, and again, they have not come before planning or zoning, and unless somebody else has information on that. I do plan to do pre-K though, but I have no specific on it.
I think
So there
Councilman
are
Perry had some information.
The only thing that I have is that the building construction official was on vacation and the contractor of that site that you're talking about, the old JJ campsite, came in and asked me to follow up on something which is help me out with immensely. But it is somehow, some way connected to Northfield Community School with 4-year-old program. And the sign out there is a sign out there. My question to the mayor at the last meeting was, is it the school that's running it, because the referendum said that all school activities would be on the northern site. This is in conjunction with the synagogue has office, has classrooms also, and one other. But anything that I know, the contractors said that they were local students.
I believe Councilman Councilman Perry, and I'm not really familiar fully, but I understand that program is through a grant. And I think when I brought that up several years ago, when they first came, that grant hopefully would be, I think it's a 5-year grant. And after that, we don't know what the situation would be, but that's part of it. That it's under that auspice of this grant program that they receive money to fund this school facility or facilities, plural.
The only reason I know is because I had to hook them up to get one of our inspectors in there before school opened. And they told me that, you know, they worked in the 4-year-old student. Along with the city, yeah.
Now, my second question is the Henry property there along the bike path. Has that actually been sold and plans are in place for apartments?
So they came before the planning board with a proposal, but and they wanted to know certain things before they pulled the trigger on buying the property. So from my knowledge, I don't know that it's transferred hands yet. They may still be in the, whether it's feasible or not, feasibility phase of it. There's some information on our sewer system, whether it can handle the extra flow from all the apartments, but they would be adult apartments and.
Would it be low-cost housing or just for now?
They may, I think, be open to a certain number because they want the approval of low-cost housing. But again, they have not, they just came to us with a very preliminary plan. And we haven't heard anything since then.
Thank you. Any others from the public wishing to speak?
I have someone in Zoom, just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so it's Mr. Mazoon.
Yes.
I've
I'm on?
unmuted you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Just a moment, sir. We can't hear you. Hold on, please.
Hello? Testing, testing. Testing. Hello? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Mary, I'm unmuted if you unmuted me.
Hello. 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 Good evening, everyone. Yes, this is Frequan Luzon. I was trying to speak via Zoom, and then I decided to call in. Hello, can you hear me? I just got out of the Zoom meeting.
Hold on.
Rather than hear us, see us.
Right.
I don't think it's through Tom's phone.
It was muted. I just unmuted.
Shannon, I'm going to keep talking and I'm going to mute Tom. You need to tell me if you stop hearing my voice. All right, now can you hear us now? Testing, can you hear us in Zoom, please? All right, I guess they can hear,
Okay.
but can we hear them? We can't because it's only going to be I can't have more than one person unmuted at a time.
Well, he can go through here.
Only one person can be on. Can
I think so.
you unmute Shannon and see what happens?
Testing, testing.
Right, she's coming in through Tom's phone and the speaker.
Okay.
Can the gentleman call the phone in council chambers and then you can put him on speaker?
That's what I was going to suggest before, but I don't know what that's going to do to the rest of the sound. You know, because we have that echo feedback.
Right.
Mary, other than his availability that he offered, is there anything else that he wanted to say?
I
Can we ask him
don't
that in
know.
chat?
I don't know.
If that's all he wanted to
Unmute
say,
him. I'll put him on my
sounds like
phone.
he said it. What's that? Oh, okay.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Good evening.
First meeting ever.
Jesus. I hope my desire to speak for 2 minutes didn't just cause all this problem.
I'm sorry, you're out of time.
Well, just really quick, I'm the chair of the cannabis practice group at a large law firm up in North Jersey. Before this job, I was the general counsel of the state Senate and working for Steve Sweeney and Senator Scutari, and was very much involved in putting this whole thing together for a couple of years before I left in 2019. So I know this issue very well. I'm encouraged that Northfield is willingness to consider it again, and I just wanted to make myself available if there are any questions and you thought my expertise was necessary. I just wanted you to know that I was here.
Yes, I think we have Councilwoman Madden would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Well, could you send it to her email?
My contact information? I couldn't hear the question.
I'd just like your contact information. If I have any questions in the future, I very much want to hear what you have to say. And
Yes, absolutely. I will put it in the chat.
thank you.
Councilwoman Madden, I do have him on our website. I can give you that information as well.
Thank you very much. Just keep talking.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else from, did you have anything else you wanted to add, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from Zoom wishing to speak?
Not me.
Okay, seeing no one wishing to fight Zoom. We will now end the public session on the on Zoom and both in chambers. If everyone can please refer to your agendas.
So strange.
We can still hear everybody.
Oh, you can hear me?
I'm muting you. Bye, Shannon.
Okay, approval of the minutes. Councilman Notaro, Councilman Madden. Resolutions, Councilman Utz, Councilman Deweese. Ordinance 7, Councilman Perry and Councilman Utz. Ordinance 10, Councilwoman Madden, Councilman Deweese. Payment of bills, Councilman Deweese, Councilman Notaro, and meeting minutes, Councilwoman Madden. Yes. Yes, you are. Do I have a motion to, motion to adjourn the public session?
Work session.
I'm sorry, motion to adjourn the work session. All in favor? Aye. Since we just had a recess, we'll just take a brief recess before we come back to, or maybe we can figure out what's going on with Zoom for a minute.
I don't even want to play with it now. If this is working.
Okay.
Thank you for. I'm gonna get pro video here tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's above my pay grade. Sorry.
On the park itself, so please keep that in mind. I do want to give a shout out again about our bike radio, or excuse me, rodeo that's being sponsored by our police department. We'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony for the bike rodeo, which will begin at 10 a.m. The ribbon cutting ceremony for the bike path will be at 11 a.m. Any young child who is interested and would like to learn some of the etiquette as well as bike safety, please contact our police department or our city clerk's office. There is on the website, you can also apply there, but we would like to get some more children involved or as participation on this wonderful event there. I also want to give a shout out to, again, to our Northfield McDonald's owners who have participated and are donating ice cream sundaes to be distributed by our police officers who spot children who are following proper bike safety, and that is wearing helmets and whatever necessary gear and so forth. It's been a very successful program that I believe this is the third year that we've worked with the Northfield McDonald's, so I do want to thank them so much, and I know you received the letters and emails of people who have thanked us for supporting this concept, and certainly a reward like this is an initiative that we hope will have children wear the bike helmets and follow safety rules. I received notification from the Atlantic County Department of Human Services. They want us to be aware that flu vaccination season is once again upon us. And that this year, the Atlantic County Division of Public Health will be offering flu as well as COVID-19 vaccinations at all clinics and to be eligible to individuals of 18 years and older at no cost. The COVID-19 screening and face mask will be required for entry. So if anyone is interested, there is a telephone number that you can obtain from our city clerk's office, or just simply contact the county offices or Atlantic County office. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Just on a side note, this would be to our solicitor. I had sent out some information about the marijuana policies that may affect our employees. So I don't know if we're going to have to update our manual as far as how we address employees with recreational marijuana and so forth. So that's something that we want to consider.
Certainly look at that and possibly get the advice of Ms. Curia.
Very good. Courts, administrative courts, doing well. We're moving forward. The personnel committee has met, and they have already submitted, and it's on the county website as far as several different positions that will be administrative for the court. I am the chairman of the governance, which is the budget hearing, or excuse me, the budget process. I plan to have a meeting this month with the other towns to start to draw up a budget for the administrative court. So we are moving forward in that respect there. I do want to recognize, and we had this week, the swearing in of our crossing guards. And again, I want to thank them for their dedication and the work, especially when we had the COVID-19 crisis or situation and irregular schedule. So thank you and congratulations to them. I also want to remind City Council that our Atlantic County League of Municipalities meeting will be held this Friday at Ethel. Yeah, thank you. In Smithville, the two speakers will be Jim Ferguson, who will bring an update on the courts, administrative courts, and also Tim Kirshner, who will be talking about shared services. And the last item, I just got an update to answer your questions with regards to the preschool. Yes, there are classes that are actually 3 classes out of at the formerly the fire clubs, or the carried in for those of all of us who are old timers, will be at that building. It is under the expansion, New Jersey expansion program, which is state funded. So there will be a total right now of 12 classes. They do have room for more additional classes. At least at that facilities, they have an additional room for 2 more, but at this time, I believe there's only 3. But to answer your question, yes, it is confirmed. It is at the building there. And I believe I was told that they have already started their preschool classes over there. That is all that I have to report, Council President.
Thank you. Engineers report.
Send my report last Friday. We are finalizing the document. Grant money. So it's a cost. We should have that by next month. The second thing is 2020 local road program. The contractor finished 90% of the punch list items that covered by this morning, but everything started looking good. There's a couple areas that to work with the contractor on that. On Bay Avenue, contractor also started a bunch of items, couple items that we're resolving with that, trying to finalize the final change order for that for paving. We have some time to be also there's a fuel price asphalt and fuel adjustments that's been used was from last year to this year. The budget went up back. So we're working on the following things. The split lining, the contractor was supposed to start last week. We had an issue with the water company trying to get a fire hydrant allocated for the water they use. He could not get that to the water company. I contacted them. They promised that this week they'll approve his permit, allocate him fire hydrant. So he's starting next week with cleaning, beautifying the pipe, in the pipe. They beautify them, then they will start. Us going to start Monday for the contract. When I get a firm schedule, I'll contact. Please coordinate these departments, road closures.
Is that still planned on being, some of them going to be at late night hours?
I think the Hilton Road should be at night. Traffic, the amount of traffic there.
Thank you. On the slip lining, Ron, your Councilman Perry, do you know if were able to work out the staffing for our sewer personnel or sewer or our management to be there during those off hours?
I asked specifically that the contract plan coordinate that coordinate for the public works, but when they'll have a heads up when they need.
Yeah.
Not a baby thing, but they need somebody from public works to do that.
Right.
So he's going to coordinate that, but I'll be involved with that. Being a contractor.
Great, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to try this again. This meeting is now open to the public for anyone wishing to speak on any subject. I'll ask you please state your name and address for the record, and please observe a 5-minute limit per speaker. Anyone in chambers wishing to speak? Anyone on Zoom?
I do not believe so.
Okay. With that, we will close the public session. Moving on to resolutions. All matters considered under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. The executive sessions of council will be held at the end of the meeting, and we will come back in a public session to make a comment for the record after each executive session has been concluded. Any vote made on subjects discussed will be made in public. Resolution 163 will not be part of the consent agenda. If 63 is considered only after the executive session has concluded and the public portion of the meeting has resumed. Is there anything, are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone from council wishes to have voted on separately? Okay, any other discussion? Resolutions?
I'd like to make a necessary motion to introduce resolution 157-2021, resolution 162-2021 by consent.
Adopt.
Okay, and I'd like to make a necessary motion to adopt resolution 157-2021 through 162.
Second.
Any further questions for council? Roll call?
All in favor of voting by consent agenda on resolutions 157 through 162 of 2021?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Adopt the consent agenda.
Once again, make the necessary motion to adopt resolution 157-2020 through 162.
Second.
Roll call. Are there any questions at this time?
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Moving on to the ordinances. Ordinance 7-21 is a public hearing.
No, we already did that.
We did?
Yeah, we had.
Yep. My notes wrong.
Yes, so we had the public hearing on ordinance 7 back in August.
Okay.
So now it is just final reading. Mr. Spacenda, is that correct?
Yes, that's my recollection.
Thank you. Yes,
Just
please.
motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to ordinance 7-2021 final consideration.
Is that, did he say, I'm sorry, what was that motion, Mr. Perry? Is that a motion to adopt?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Before I second that motion, what's the appropriate time to discuss some of the shortfalls of the current?
Probably before you second it.
Okay, then.
Let's open discussion then.
If I may, the Consumer Regulatory Commission sent out extensive regulations regarding legalization of cannabis in New Jersey. And it allows for municipalities to set certain parameters. One is a licensing fee, which we do not have as part of our ordinance, but Atlantic City and New York included a licensing fee as part of their ordinance. It also sets that this governing body can decide how many of these establishments are permissible in our town. Or it's up to zoning requirements, or even through zoning. We already have the regional commercial zone. But this body should decide how many and what type of cannabis facilities, if it decides that if number one wants more revenue for the city of Northfield, if it decides that it's like lab tested, unadulterated product out there in the market, decides to like to deprive organized crime of a source of revenue, and provide economic development for our community, then we should consider whether we want to set the hours of operation, number of facilities, the types of facilities, and
Penalties. Penalties for the violations.
well, that would be something else also with the licensing fee. Do we want to charge a licensing fee, and if so, how much? Atlantic City charging $25,000 for a large facility. Charging $10,000. So this is a source of potential revenue for our town, but I don't know if we should proceed with the ordinance without including these items.
I believe we should add that in there as what amend our ordinance. The licensing fee also needs to be, while 25,000 sounds great, it needs to be reasonable for what our costs are going to be. That is in the law. So that's something we need to consider. So
I would also.
I would ask that the committee take these items back up to address and work with our solicitor to get the ordinance to include the items that are missing.
Although I do think time is of the essence, I would also consider increasing the licenses that we are willing to accept in town. It is come to my attention after reading the regulations that there are some of these operations are small, vertically integrated operations that grow, process, package, and retail all in one facility. That's what Atlantic City and every township are charging more money for license. The town could probably support a couple of such operations. Larger facilities there. And also how many of the, if the regulation is specifically geared towards providing women-owned, minority-owned, or disabled veteran-owned businesses as micro businesses, no more than 10 employees. They're very specific, and so our town should also consider how many of those allowing for competition without going golden goose. How many of those facilities we would permit. So I am, there it is.
You're stalking me.
In interest of amending the ordinance.
Let's get it right. I concur. I think we need to get it right. We need to also add in the transfer tax, state tax, as well as the sales tax. Everybody else?
So,
is there anyone from council that has any other opposition to that, or would like to move forward?
now the original committee for zoning was Councilman Louise, Councilman Perry, and myself. Is that the same three council presidents that you'd like to consider these additional items?
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to be on that committee to replace Councilman Louise? I'll do that then. Did you?
I'd like it to be required by precedent.
That's,
So you can repeat for me who the committee.
yes. Okay, so Councilman Perry, are you still wishing to be on that committee?
Yes.
Councilman Otts?
Yes.
And no one, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Madden, but as I agree with Councilman Otts again, to make it as bipartisan as possible, I'll take the third spot.
I know that the rules and regulations came down, and basically, if we were putting an ordinance together, it's not solely on the members of that committee to articulate this ordinance.
No.
And, the legal and administrative end of it, we would need some help on drafting that to a reasonable, we're legislators, but we basically have to conform to the 160-page recommendation from the state, I understand. And, other towns seem to have advertised similar ordinances, and why are we inventing the wheel? We can look at other municipalities that have already done it, have dotted the i's and t's, where I just don't understand why we have such a generic document, even though, it has come down some time now, it's been out, and I saw a recommendation of the administrator, and I think they're all good points, and they should be addressed, but the actual ordinance has to be addressed by professionals.
It's merely a committee to give our input to the solicitor, and he has access to those other ordinances as well, and we can incorporate that.
And in terms of the legal assistance, I'm happy to provide that legal assistance. Tonight is the first time, notwithstanding the fact that the issue of numbers of licenses, types of licenses, and all of the issues that were just addressed by Mr. Utz have been brought to my attention as a concern, so I cannot put anything in an ordinance that I'm not asked to consider. So happy to do that for council. Happy to participate in meetings of the committee.
Thank you.
Yes.
How do you, treat, and this, if you're enforcing? I'd like to see where.
That is a potential. Yes.
You can make this be incorporated in the committee meeting.
Yeah, Chief, when we meet, we'll, keep you in loop on our meetings and ask if you can attend if you're available. Thank you. One other item is the license limitations on the state are only on the cultivation. That was one thing we didn't realize in our initial drafting.
Well, that would have to be added in, too, right?
You would have to add that to it, yeah.
Okay. Any other input on ordinance 7?
It wasn't seconded.
It wasn't seconded, so it can stay.
Procedurally, it'll stay as is. It was moved but not seconded, therefore the procedural status of that ordinance does not change.
And upon amending it, it sounds like it'll be substantial change, so we'll have to go through a first and second reading.
Whatever's legally required. I don't know
Yeah.
the extent of the changes, but it certainly sounds like that is now surfacing.
Okay.
If there are substantial amendments, we will advertise them and adopt it in accordance with the law.
Thank you.
Council President,
Yes.
I would just like to make, standard regular proposition to this note again. Even though we're not moving forward with this ordinance here, I want to point out a couple of things, just that I believe there's over 400 towns in New Jersey, 70% of municipalities who have voted against this. That is not being regularly adopted in the majority of towns. I think for good reason. The more that I research, and I would recommend for other members of council to do more research on the impact of marijuana, I'd be happy to forward some information that I have found and received. The more that I research the impact of marijuana, especially on our youth, the more trouble I get, and we all know my opposition here. It's more disturbing the more I research it. I was hoping to find some, maybe silver lining, but once again, I am not been swayed by the almighty dollar in this. And I think that in all the talk about me doing all this, I just want to further state that we all know your opposition, but it troubles me even more to make sacrifices based on few dollars, whatever it might be, and then a number, including Linwood, has not adopted in Summers Point, I believe. Many other local towns have chosen not to move forward with this and voted against having it in their town borders. And I will continue to recommend that Northfield does the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
If that's the general consensus, if you take a poll vote, then why move forward? If the votes aren't there.
We're going to move forward with redrafting the ordinance.
I'm saying that, but, if you don't have, full votes right now, then why would you do it?
We don't know that we don't.
It seemed like a lot of time and money to go forward. We beat this to death. So it's the business of government. It's an opportunity.
I don't think we beat it to death. I think Paul just did a bunch of stuff that really wasn't needed.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah.
Well, and this is precisely why I was a proponent of prohibiting it at first, so that we had this opportunity to know what we're voting on. This isn't Washington. We don't vote on things and then find out what's in it. So we will move forward from that. Ordinance 10, please.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 10, 2021, to be read by title only.
Ordinance 10 of 2021 is an ordinance amending Chapter 43 and Chapter 8376 of the Code of the City of Northfield. This is the second reading. There will be a public hearing after which the matter will be considered for final adoption. Since introduction, the ordinance has been posted in full on the municipal website as well as in the lobby of City Hall. And any member of the public who requested a copy of the ordinance would have been provided with one free of charge by my office. If adopted this evening, the ordinance will be published a final time in the Press of Atlantic City on September 18th.
Any questions from council? Roll call.
Got to open the public hearing.
Okay. This will be the public hearing for ordinance 10-2021. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this ordinance and this ordinance alone may do so now, and I ask that you please make a 5-minute limit to what you're speaking with. If you know what I said, yeah, it's public session, please. Anyone from Zoom?
No one in Zoom, sir?
The public session on ordinance 10 is now closed. Any questions from council? Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of ordinance 10 of 2021.
Payment of bills, are we going to do executive session?
Payment of bills.
Okay. Payment of bills.
Motion to payment of bills of $2,419,419.20.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
Meeting notices.
Council President, before you, I think I can mention this, I received an informal inquiry with regards to the hazard pay. Are we going to discuss that?
That's a subject for the closed session.
Thank you very much.
Meeting notices. Thank you.
What's that?
We'll go into executive session then.
Okay, so for the folks in Zoom, the council will be going into a closed session discussion, and during that time, the cell phone that we are now using for all of you to be able to hear us is going to be muted, and the video will be turned off as well as the recording. So hopefully you'll just see the city logo when the executive session of council has concluded. The recording will be reactivated, the audio and video will be turned back on, and a statement will be made for the record. And we will be doing that twice for 2 different executive sessions. The first one is Resolution 161 of 2021, which was just adopted as part of the consent agenda, which is a resolution providing for an executive session not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, which is NJSA 10:4-12B. In this case, Section 7, matters covered under the attorney-client privilege. We are required to set forth as much information as possible about the subject matter to be discussed, as well as provide for the public the amount of time that can be expected to elapse before the non-public minutes can be disclosed. And for that, I will defer to the solicitor for comment.
Thank you. As authorized by Resolution 161, 2021, at this time, the City Council for the City of Northfield will enter into an executive session not open to the general public in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Matters to be discussed are specifically requests from various municipal departments for payment of hazard pay for work performed during the 2020 coronavirus pandemic using American Rescue Plan Act funds. Council will keep minutes of the executive session as required by law, which will be approved by the council and made promptly available for public inspection when required and permitted by law. At this time, the time for the release of those minutes is unknown. Are we staying in this room?
Yes.
Council will remain in this room, which will be closed for the executive session.
No, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. The City of Northfield Council has concluded its second executive session as authorized by Resolution 162 of 2021. Specifically, the council discussed in that executive session the negotiation and the terms of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Northfield, the NJ State PBA, Mainland Local 77, related to officer in charge pay. Those matters required confidentiality and dealt with contractual negotiations. Council did keep minutes of that executive session as required by law, which will be approved by the council and made available for public inspection when required and permitted by law. In terms of official action as a result of that executive session, it's my understanding that the council will now consider resolution number 163 of 2021 for approval or denial.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 2021.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestino?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of resolution 163 of 2021.
Motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Everyone. Thank you, Nicole.